Ladies and gentlemen, I always put emphasis on respect on Jamaican food because Jamaican food is tying Jamaicans to their own identity. Jamaican food is tying up Jamaicans to their history and roots. Ladies and gentlemen, talk of jack chicken, talk of ackee and saltfish from the West Africa. Now, where am I going on with it? Where am I going with this conversation? There's one European, there's one white guy who tried Jamaican food, and he felt in love with Jamaican food. I have that clip here with me. Actually, he wants to smuggle some of them to another country. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a very interesting video. Okay, so take a look first of all on what he had to say about this food. Okay, this special dish that he tried on, and then I'll be coming back to react after this. And
I'm a Jamaican, so if you're not a Jamaican, keep scrolling. Let me show you my lunch. Oxtail and curried goat. On the floor, going back to Australia, I'm having this unseasoned flavourless nonsense. It terrifies me. Because I can't smuggle food back. Imagine I go through immigration, they open my suitcase and I got a breadfruit tree and 5 kilos of ackee in my suitcase and they send me to jail. God bless Jamaican and God bless the food they cook. Oh my. If you haven't tried Jamaican food, then you haven't given your taste buds the luxury and stimulation that they need. Jamaican food. Woo! What a meal. Those flavors. Sensational. Alright, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my channel. Jamaicans were born with some very special culinary skills. I've never seen a Jamaican who does not know how to cook. Ladies and gentlemen, it's like having culinary skills is a mandatory skills among Jamaicans. Ladies and gentlemen, look at all these visitors that visit Jamaica. What's the first impression that they live on is Jamaican food. So meaning food is a very important aspect of any country. Food is an identity of any country. That's why you see all these foreigners or all these tourists that visit Jamaica. The first thing that they try on is Jamaican food. The first thing that they want to get curious on, or they get curious on, is how the food tastes. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, meaning that and all these people, it doesn't matter from which country that they are coming from. All these people that visit that country, the first thing that they try on is Jamaican food, and they leave positive review. They normally leave positive reviews, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. Yeah. It is the taster of the food who knows how the food tastes, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. If it's an African, they always leave positive reviews about Jamaica. If it's a European trying Jamaican food, they are always leaving positive reviews about Jamaican food. If it's a Chinese, if it's an Indian, they are always, in one way or the other, they are always leaving out positive review about Jamaican food. And if you have noticed, I have mentioned people from different nationalities, ladies and gentlemen. Now, all those people from different nationalities, all of them encompasses Jamaican food. Yeah. Jamaican food is a fusion of people from different nationalities. They are creating a dish that is fusing, with cultures from different places. There is European, there is African, ackee and saltfish, there is Indian spices in Jamaican food. That's why Jamaican food is very conspicuous and very unique. That's why it tastes so nice. Okay, it's like it's bringing the whole people. It's like it's bringing the whole world together. Not Jamaican, it's not a Jamaican. You will always, for Jamaicans who have always tasted Jamaican food, they know Jamaican food that is prepared by a Jamaican and Jamaican food that is prepared by non-Jamaican. They always know. They always have experiences, ladies and gentlemen. That's why I told you cannot lie your way out with Jamaican people. They know their food. They know how their food tastes like, ladies and gentlemen. You cannot cheat on Jamaicans, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. So if you're non-Jamaican and you want to cook Jamaican food, always put a disclaimer. This food is prepared by a non-Jamaican. Always prepare Jamaicans to know, so that because in one way or the other they will know. Jamaicans know their own food, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. There's no food that tastes better than soul food. The natives know their taste food. It doesn't matter how many kilometers they are far away from Jamaicans. They always know, ladies and gentlemen. They know a food that is prepared by Jamaicans and food that is prepared by non-Jamaicans. They know how their food tastes like. Now let's go to this guy from Australia, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, he wants to smuggle some of his food to his own country. That's why I told you that, and I always say this: Jamaica is the medicine. The Jamaican food is the medicine of the heart and soul, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, he said that for a long time he has always been tasting foods that do not have flavors until he tried Jamaican food, and he has left a lasting impression. Okay, have you noticed that all these foreigners who are trying Jamaican food, in one or the other, they must talk about it, they must post it on TikTok, they must post it on YouTube, they must post it on Instagram, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, all these foreigners, even celebrities that come to Jamaica, even American celebrities that come to Jamaica and they try Jamaican food, they must talk about it, they must leave positive reviews about it. And their views or their videos, in one way or the other, they tend to skyrocket, ladies and gentlemen. Huh? Look at that, ladies and gentlemen. Huh? See how amazing it is. See how the world is leaving positive impressions on Jamaican food. See how the world is falling in love with Jamaican food, ladies and gentlemen. It's not me. This is something that I'm looking at the internet. Huh? This guy wants to smuggle some of this Jamaican food to his own country in Australia. Yeah? How good is that, ladies and gentlemen? How amazing is that? Yeah? Another thing is, Jamaican food is a symbol of Jamaican identity. Look at saltfish, look at ackee and saltfish, look at jack chicken, look at rice and beans, look at, beef, Jamaican beef patty. All these dishes, ladies and gentlemen, they are very synonymous with Jamaica. When someone is mentioning Jamaican beef patty, you are linking that up with Jamaican people. When someone is mentioning jack chicken, all the time, when someone mentions jack chicken, it rings to Jamaican people. When someone is mentioning rice and beans and oxtail, it's ringing to Jamaican people, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, all this dish is synonymous with Jamaican, ladies and gentlemen. That is why it's very important, to take care of Jamaican food. It's very important. That's why Jamaican people, they are very serious when it comes to their own food, because this is their name. Yeah, this is their name. Jamaican food is their name. Okay, it's their own identity. It's tying them up to their own identity, ladies and gentlemen. That's why you cannot mess around with their own food. You'd rather mess around with your relationship. It's okay to mess around with your relationship, but when it comes to Jamaican food, now that's where they put so much, emphasis on. Mess around with their own food. You'd rather mess around with your relationship. It's okay to mess around with your relationship, but when it comes to Jamaican food, now that's where they put so much, emphasis on. If you want to know how Jamaicans are very serious, if you want to know why Jamaicans are very serious with their cuisine, then go to Jamaicans, ladies and gentlemen. Look at the street food culture among the Jamaican people. Okay, anytime, let me tell you this, anytime you go to a country, the first thing you look for is food. So food is a very important aspect of any country. Look at all these YouTubers that travel to Jamaica. The first thing that they look for is food. The first thing that they want to do the reviews is food. Look at even the tourists, that come to Jamaica. The first thing that they want to do reviews on is food. And when they do the reviews on their food, on the food of the Jamaican people, ladies and gentlemen, their views always skyrocket. Their views always tend to go up, ladies and gentlemen. That's why I always put more emphasis. There's a reason why I always put more emphasis on the respect of Jamaican food. If you're non-Jamaican, do not try. If you're non-Jamaican, do not try to cook Jamaican food on your own without the supervision of Jamaicans by your side. Jamaican food is not something that you can learn on the internet and assume that you know how to do it, ladies and gentlemen. This is a very special culinary. You need some very special culinary skills, to prepare, a dish like jack chicken, rice and peas, oxtail. You need some special culinary skills to do all these, ladies and gentlemen. This is not something that you just wake up, you learn on YouTube and you start doing. Okay? Because look at it this way. Jamaican food is a symbol of cultural identity among the Jamaican people. Yes, it's tying them to their historical roots and culture. Okay? It's also a symbol of social gatherings and social bonds. Have you ever seen Jamaican parties, how they look? Have you ever seen how Jamaican gatherings, how they look? Have you ever missed out any cooking among the Jamaican gatherings? There's always cooking. There's always someone cooking. There's always 2, 3, or 5 people preparing food in special Jamaican gatherings, ladies and gentlemen. This tells you how or why these people are very serious with their dishes, ladies and gentlemen. And this also tells you that you need to be very careful, if you're non-Jamaican, when you're trying to cook their food, okay? Because they do not play around. You'd rather play around with, so there are so many things you can play around. You can even play around with your relationship. But when it comes to Jamaican food, please put some respect to it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, yes. Of course, thank you so much for watching my videos up to this point, and of course share this video to your family, to your friends, to your neighbors. Knock on their doors. Even if they are eating food, stop them from eating so that they can look at this video, because this video is very important. It's the second most important thing after the discovery of bread, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, and of course thank you so much guys for coming in and subscribing to my channel. And of course and it's the most important, actually it's the most important point. I should have started with this point. And there are so many things people have counterfeited, even atomic bomb. People have counterfeited, fake love, fake relationship. But when it comes to Jamaican food, please do not counterfeit Jamaican food. Keep Jamaican food out of your own problems. Keep Jamaican food, out of your own shortcomings. Give some respect to Jamaican food, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, it's okay to cheat on your girlfriend, it's okay to cheat on your boyfriend, but when it comes to Jamaican food, please keep Jamaican food out of your own shortcomings, ladies and gentlemen. You see how people are celebrating Jamaican food all over the world, and even if you go to heaven, you will not miss out Jamaican food. When you go to heaven and you miss out Jamaican food, just know there and there you are in hell, ladies and gentlemen, because even in paradise, even in heaven, you will still find Jamaican food getting served there at the high table, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, thank you so much for your support and for your big up love. Thank you. About the Haitian Revolution. I don't want to talk so much about the Haitian Revolution because that is another topic for another day. Okay, but one thing I've said is that Jamaicans are very productive and very industrial. Look at the areas, look at the places that they have been to, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah? Look at in Harlem in 1920s when Jamaicans were migrating in Harlem in New York. They came there to help build New York to where it is right now. Okay, during remember during wind rush, okay, when a lot of Jamaicans were moving from Jamaica to UK, okay, when UK was on stand down because of World War II, so a lot of Jamaicans migrated during wind rush to go and work in UK. They went and reconstruct UK to that was left in shambles after World War II, ladies and gentlemen. Now we are talking about the Costa Rica, the Costa Rica. But unfortunately in Costa Rica and in Panama Canal, Jamaicans were really exploited really badly, exploited and then getting disposed of, especially in Costa Rica, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, but I'm glad that later on they were also incorporated into the society of the Costa Rica. As you speak right now, that's why we have the Afro Costa Ricans. When you go to Limon, you'll find a lot of people who have Jamaicans, a lot of people with Jamaican descent, who are Afro Costa Ricans. But what happened in Panama Canal, a lot of Jamaicans died because of malaria. They died because of yellow fever, but they have never been compensated. And then even in Costa Rica, a lot of them did not even go into the books of history as people who actually help in promoting the Costa Rican economy, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, the economy of Costa Rica and where it is right now, Jamaicans had a hand in it, ladies and gentlemen. That's why I'm telling you. It's a very sad story. They were used to build the railway station. They were also used in banana cultivation. Why? Because they are the only ones who are very skillful and they were very good farmers. Then later on, they started passing very biased laws. You can't move from point A, you can't move from point B. It was quite unfair, ladies and gentlemen, to the Jamaican people. So Jamaican people deserve their flowers. So when you see when you see people praising up Jamaicans, they know where these people are. God knows where Jamaicans they have come from. Yes, look at the areas that these guys have been going to. They have been influencing those areas. They have also been helping out to build those areas. It's like now the universe is now paying back the Jamaican people with goodness. That's why they are very famous. That's why Jamaica is very productive. It's like the universe listened to their cries, listened to their sufferings, because they have been used by people a lot of times. They have been used from Panama Canal, to Harlem, New York, to Costa Rica, to UK. They have been used, they have been discriminated racially, but the universe listened to their cries, and as we speak today, they are very famous. But the good thing is, where they go, they influence those areas. they influence those areas. That's one thing that I love. Even in situations where Jamaicans are getting discriminated, they still stick to their own cultures. They still stick to their own beliefs. That's why when you go to these areas, you will find Rastafarian, you will find reggae, you will find reggae festivals, you will find even all these genres of music from Jamaica, ladies and gentlemen. Huh?